are born with an innate sense of what's good for us, and that is being taken away by the food industry.
What it is, ho, what's up?
On this continuous list of how America continues to let companies take control, we have a food crisis. And it's not what you think. We're not running out of food, we're just running out of quality food. It's been revealed that 73% of food in America is ultra-processed, meaning it's foods that can't be created in the kitchen. That also contains a lot of additives. Those ingredients found in things such as sodas, chips, packaged soups, bread, nuggets, ice cream, etc. Now that there is a scarcity in quality foods that people can eat, scientists are now saying that there needs to be a tobacco-style warning of potential health risks for the food and/or advertising bans.
What if I told you these ridiculous ads?
Did you say I'll feel better smoking Philip Morris?
Yes, you'll feel better.
Are not all that different from these ads.
Now, every box of Kellogg's Rice Krispies cereal has antioxidants and nutrients that help support your child's immune system.
This has become interesting because tobacco companies have actually owned food companies until the early 2000s and have used their advertising style and health research to sell to consumers knowing it causes health risks.
Right now, scientists are sounding the alarm that a growing number of grocery store items are ultra-processed, and that leads to health concerns. Researchers say ultra-processed foods, the high in fats, starches, sugars, and additives, now make up 73% of the US food supply, even though they are linked to health issues like diabetes, obesity, cancer, and depression. Scientists now say these foods should be regulated with tobacco-style warnings and advertising bans. Let's bring in Trish Cotter. She is the global lead for the food policy program at the public health organization Vital Strategies. Trish, explain to our viewers the difference between minimally processed, processed, and ultra-processed foods as it relates to our health.
Okay, so minimally processed foods are those foods that you would normally consider to be fresh foods, freely available, that you can make home-cooked meals with. Ultra-processed foods are products, not necessarily foods, that you can't make in your home kitchen. And these products are, in the end, quite desirable and tasty. They're ready to eat, ready to heat, and unfortunately, they are taking up way too much of a component of our diet because they lead to some serious health consequences.
Which types of foods that our viewers have in their fridge and pantries right now would you recommend they reconsider due to the health risks?
Look, a diet that's high in ultra-processed foods is an unhealthy diet. So the products that consumers really should be concerned about are those products that have got that are wrapped in packaging, often plastic, that have more than 5 ingredients, and that many of those ingredients are words that aren't familiar. There are things like emulsifiers, or even chemicals that are referred to as numbers because they don't have real names. So the typical products might be crisps, packaged foods that are ready to heat, like lasagnas, those sorts of things.
Oh gosh,
bread.
Trish, I gotta say, you're breaking my heart because you're listing all the things I like, but I encourage folks to look into your study and take these health risks quite seriously.
AKA the entire grocery stores. What's crazy about researchers warning consumers about eating products with less than 5 ingredients, they should instead be telling these companies to regulate their ingredients list. It's become very difficult to buy food nowadays that isn't loaded with unnecessary additives. Most consumers want to be healthy, but most consumers also don't have the option when these food options are their only option. Right now, we're going through a crazy time where a lot of food is being recalled. Things that are so basic like butter, strawberries, shredded cheese are all being recalled for E. coli, listeria, and other contaminants.
Holy cow, folks, please share this information widely. The images behind me are of packages of dairy products, mainly cotija cheeses from a company called Rizzo Lopez Foods. They have issued a nationwide voluntary recall of these specific products because they may be contaminated with a bacteria called Listeria monocytogenes. This bacteria can make people very sick. especially if they're babies, immune-compromised, elderly, or pregnant. Symptoms can occur as soon as the next day after consuming these products, or could take up to 10 weeks after eating it before symptoms can occur. At this time, there have already been 26 illnesses in the United States linked to this outbreak, including 23 hospitalizations and 2 people passing away from listeriosis. This is a widespread recall. In fact, Costco had emailed me and called me about a product that I had purchased back in November that is a part of this recall, and I have been okay, fortunately, but listeriosis can take several weeks for the symptoms to develop, and so you could have fever, headache, confusion, stiff neck, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, a lot of symptoms that could make you very sick, and if you're at all concerned, talk with your doctor about it.
So I work in news, and we get a lot of like press releases, general things we broadcast to the public, and one thing we get a lot of is recalls. Bring X, Y, and Z back to the store, and get a refund or throw it away. One place we get a lot of recalls for, Trader Joe's. Let's just take a glimpse at the past year and some change of recalls at Trader Joe's. All right, starting off strong, we have salmonella in the cashews on March 17th, a few days ago, about a week ago. Yeah, lovely. Up next, everyone's favorite chicken soup dumplings, plastic in them, back on March 2nd. Boy, oh boy, who doesn't love a little listeria in their cheese products? Thanks, Trader Joe's. February 7th, 2024. Back on February 2nd, foreign material. Earlier, the soup dumplings, they said plastic. This one, they just don't say what it is. Foreign material. Who knows what fell in there in your chicken lentil and caramelized onion pilaf? Eat up. Heading back into 2023, salmonella in the cantaloupe. That's number 2 for salmonella. This one's not as bad, but still, people have allergies. Undeclared milk in the black bean tamales. Lovely. But who could forget? Metal in the multi-grain crackers. First plastic, now metal. It gets worse. Back in July, rocks in your fully cooked falafel. Who doesn't love a delicious Mediterranean meal? How? Insects in unexpected broccoli cheddar soup. Yeah, that's not an adjective. That's the name of the soup. Unexpected broccoli cheddar soup. Yeah, I'd say insects in my broccoli cheddar soup is a little unexpected. More rocks. More rocks. Where are they coming from? In your almond windmill cookies. Yum. More listeria in more fruits. Your organic tropical fruit blend. Candles. The glass just couldn't handle it. It would just break, crack, and bust. Kicking it back to May. Potential glass in the instant cold brew coffee. Oh, that'll wake you up all right. More undeclared milk. If you have a dairy allergy, screw you, I guess. Hepatitis A in your tropical fruit? Can you imagine if you bought this and the other one and you got hepatitis A and listeria at the same time in your smoothie? What?
We have a consumer recall tonight, a nationwide ice cream recall because of possible listeria contamination. Ice cream producer Totally Cool recalling 13 brands, including Friendly's, Hershey's, and Chipwich. No reports of illnesses. We have much more on our website for you.
Now to this consumer alert. Coca-Cola has recalled nearly 2,000 cases of Diet Coke, Sprite, and Fanta Orange because they could contain foreign material. The recalled 12 packs were sold in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi.
In FDA recall news, it looks like 28 sodas, juices, baby formulas, and other drinks were recalled by the FDA due to harmful chemicals, bacteria, and ingredients such as red 40, yellow 5, and sugar that was not disclosed on the labels. Here's a list of some of the foods that were recalled. I highlighted the ones that are pertinent to my tribe. I do want to talk about that Schweppes Zero Sugar Ginger Ale was found to have large amounts of actual sugar in this beverage. Martinelli's apple juice was found to have large quantities of arsenic, and we know arsenic can contribute to cancer and other inflammatory conditions. Fiji water, that I recommend all the time to my patients to decrease aluminum content in the brain, was found to contain 3 different types of bacteria and high levels of manganese. Enfamil Nutramigen formula and Cresolac powdered goat milk formula contain bacteria that can cause sepsis, which is infection of the bloodstream and central nervous system of babies. The other 2 goat formulas were recalled by the FDA because they don't contain enough of the nutrients that are required by the FDA for infant nutrition. I want to go back to these lemonades for a second that were recalled because they contain red 40 and yellow 5 that was undisclosed on the bottles.
Numerous brands are being recalled because of possible listeria contamination.
We've had 4 years of Trump and 2.5 years of Biden, and we still cannot trust the food in our grocery stores is safe to eat. It's covered in toxic pesticides and additives that are banned in other countries, and all kinds of bacteria. Our baby formula is dangerous, and our meat is raised on land that was once the Amazon rainforest. According to the CDC, 1 in 6 Americans gets a foodborne illness each year, and 3,000 die. The last I checked, the FDA and the USDA both fall under the executive branch of our government, which, yes, reports to the president. And over in Congress, our biggest food companies are spending over $40 million each year on lobbying. This is a nonpartisan issue, folks. Both of our political parties are to blame for this failure of government to keep us safe. Both of our political parties have been bought by corporations. Both of our political parties are corrupt. Our whole food supply needs a complete overhaul, as well as our government.
Our beverages aren't safe. There's been recalls on water. Almost 2 million bottles of Fiji water have been recalled because of traces of manganese and 3 different types of bacteria. They didn't tell us what bacteria was found, but Fiji is considered the best water, and somehow it was contaminated and they didn't tell the public for 3 months.
Fiji Water has recalled nearly 2 million bottles due to contamination with manganese and bacteria. The affected bottles were distributed in Washington state and sold nationwide online. Customers are advised not to drink the water and return it for a full refund. The recall began back in early March, but it wasn't until May 23rd that the Food and Drug Administration's decision to recall Fiji water was disclosed to the public.
A lot of energy drinks that are labeled as healthy have been getting caught up in lawsuits because of their toxic ingredients. There's currently a class action lawsuit against Logan Paul and KSI about their Prime Energy drink. Some of its products allegedly contain toxic forever chemicals at 3 times the limit of what a human should consume in their entire lifetime. They're claiming that at least one of their drinks contains a high level of PFAs, and the marketing tactic, which has been using influencers and sports teams, targets children who should not be consuming the beverage, considering it also has a high level of caffeine. Logan's argument was that PFAs weren't in the drink itself, but the bottle material. PFAs are chemicals that are highly toxic and can cause a range of health problems in people, including cancer, changes in hormone levels, decreased fertility, liver and thyroid dysfunction, and a reduced immune system. Unfortunately enough, PFAs are in basically everything we consume, from our water to cookware, beauty products, and food packaging. At this point, there's a possibility that every person on Earth has PFAs in their body. Even though they're dealing with this problem in the US, Prime is actually getting recalled in Canada.
Perhaps you saw the news this morning. Complex, TMZ, Reuters, Forbes, and many more talking about how Prime Energy drinks were recalled in Canada. But the crazy part about that is we don't even distribute Prime Energy in Canada. Let me repeat that. We don't even distribute Prime Energy in Canada. So how could it be recalled? Well, the answer is illegal or unauthorized imports of the beverage. But of course, traditional media doesn't care about that because they just want a headline. They want clicks. The level of misinformation currently being spread around Prime is actually insane. And you have to ask yourself why. Don't forget, we are a better for you product. Our energy drink has 10 calories and 0 sugar. Prime formulas are compliant with each specific country's regulatory bodies. All of them. And yeah, our energy drink has caffeine in it. It's an energy drink. And no, our low sugar, low calorie hydration drink doesn't have caffeine in it. But traditional news, and by the way, they're not even news anymore. It should be called stories because people are just making shit up to get clicks. They know that if they talk about Prime, whether the information they're spreading is true or not, they will get attention. On a product that is legitimately better for you, lower in sugar, lower in calories, and healthier ingredients than most of our competitors. So you know, it actually doesn't surprise me that we're being targeted by massive corporate conglomerates and the United States government, because using social media, we've effectively created a beverage so disruptive that it is eating the market share of some of the biggest corps on the planet. And quite frankly, they're pissed. We're taking money out of their pocket. But honestly, I'm happy that people are seeing through the BS. I think the government and traditional media underestimates the collective intelligence of you, the American people. And although some people will be fooled, I am thankful that social media has given us, underdogs trying to make a business, a disruptive, better for you business, a voice to talk about the truth. Don't be fooled by the media. Take every headline with a grain of salt. And most importantly, drink Prime.
Although Prime doesn't distribute in Canada, they have a lot of resellers that sell their drink. Regardless if they're doing it or not, Prime Energy drink has 200 milligrams of caffeine, which exceeds Canada's limit by 20 milligrams. A lot of companies incorporate dyes and unnecessary ingredients that are just straight up chemicals to put in our foods and drinks. When I say unnecessary, I really mean it. It might save companies a few bucks to use alternatives, but they could create the product without it. Titanium dioxide is a chemical that is commonly added to American foods, but many people do not recognize the name because it's usually hidden on nutrition labels. Terms like artificial color or added color may mislead you into consuming titanium dioxide without even realizing it. Titanium dioxide is banned in Europe. There is some research connecting titanium dioxide to health effects such as lung cancer. Food dyes like red 40 or yellow 5 are used to make food look more appealing and bright. There are some natural food dyes available, but many ultra-processed foods use synthetic food dyes. These include foods like candy, instant pasta, pretzels, and fruit drinks. These foods are marketed towards children the most. These dyes are linked to neurobehavioral effects in hyperactivity, inattentiveness, restlessness, and have been linked to ADHD. Some countries have completely banned artificial food dyes, but most just make companies label their dyes. Unfortunately, most American companies use altered wording to make it seem like they're using healthy alternatives like natural dye when it's just manipulative wording. If you go to other countries, they have the same companies and corporations that we have in America, but their food regulations are better. They do not condone obesity, and with the diet down in other countries, you can eat more and actually lose weight versus in America. The US contains food ingredients that are considered foreign in other countries. Their chips, their McDonald's, their meat is not the same. Their standard for food is different.
Okay, I have a quick story about American food quality and the effects of American food and eating it. So our daughter has been going to a French immersion school for the last 7 years, and so we've gotten to know a lot of the teachers who are usually French teachers coming over here in most cases on a contract. And so we've talked to them about this, and I've heard multiple times from teachers something along the following lines. You know, it's really weird. I came here and I've been eating the exact same diet, exact same food, everything the same. I walk, exercise the same amount and everything. I put on 10 to 15 pounds during the school year. I go back to France in the summer, weight comes off. So this isn't talking about the poison and the health issues and everything, but obviously there's something in our food. They're eating the exact same food, different quality, and it's causing them to just balloon up and bloat and all these other things and gain weight. So my question is, what the hell are they putting in our food that's doing that? Anecdotally, for us as a family, when we have gone over to Europe for like say 3 or 4 weeks and we eat, we drop weight, and we also feel healthier. I mean, just anecdotally, we feel good. And we're on vacation, we're splurging, right? We're having baguettes every day, or pain au chocolat, or whatever it is, like eating pasta in Italy, and saying yes to dessert because we're on vacation, right? So we're not really eating better in that sense, like relative to what we would have here if we did that in America. I don't even want to think what would happen, and we feel good. And, people say, oh, it's the walking. No, we walk a lot here too. 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day. So it's not it. So there's just something very wrong with our food supply in America. So for us, a big reason for going overseas is trusting the food. We don't trust the food in America anymore. Absolutely not at all. In fact, it's beyond don't trust. It's absolutely sure that the food is poisoning us and it's making us sick. That's where we've gotten. And you'll see lots about that here on TikTok. And I've lived it anecdotally, had that experience, and am convinced of it, and have just lost all trust. And it's just very simple. They ban all of the stuff that we allow in our food here. There's something like 3,000 ingredients or something that they don't allow. Like, for example, in the EU, they don't allow these ingredients, and we happily in America put them in our food.
Leaving America is the quickest and surest way for you to actually understand how fucked up our country is when it comes to the food they feed us, the foods that they market as healthy, and the way they treat us in general when it comes to the foods we consume. If you go to Europe and you have a gluten sensitivity, 9 times out of 10, you can eat the pasta, you can eat the bread, you can eat the desserts, and you will not have a stomachache. You won't see any of the symptoms that you would normally see if you ate out in America. And why is this? Because Europe and other countries outside of the US have banned multitudes of chemicals and fake ingredients and lab-made things, I will not even call them food, that go into so much of the products that are marketed as food in America. This stuff is literal poison, toxic crap, and you cannot convince me otherwise. If you haven't noticed, no one's really obese outside of America. Like, sure, there are stragglers, but overall, there really aren't obese people. There is no epidemic even close to the epidemic we are experiencing in America. And you wonder why? Because this country cares about making money and keeping you sick so they can continue to make more money rather than feeding you natural, nourishing foods. If you think this country gives a rat's ass about you, you are sorely mistaken. And this is why it is so unbelievably imperative to do your own research, to pay attention, to start growing your own food, to start supporting local farmers, to do whatever you can to get out of this unbelievably warped and flawed system. Your life literally depends on it, my love.
I go to college in the Netherlands, and every time I come back to the US, I have to see a nutritionist because my stomach is in shambles. So I want to talk about the two biggest differences I've noticed between the food in the Netherlands and the food in the US. Number one is not talked about enough. When you go to a grocery store in the US, you have like sugar-free yogurt, sugar-free candy. You have all of these substitutes that seem like the healthier option, but it's actually just extremely processed and hard for your stomach to digest. No wonder you can't find these alternatives in Europe. Number two, the supermarkets in the US have so many options. If you go to a cereal aisle in the US, you're gonna have like 40 different cereals to choose from. And when you go to the cereal aisle in Europe, you have like 5 different cereals because half of the ingredients that are in the cereals in the US are just banned. So it is to no surprise that my nutritionist recommended me the Mediterranean diet. So she's putting me back on a European diet.
The CEOs and founders of these companies know the health risks eating their foods. The creator of Lunchables, even though he found an easier alternative for the on-the-go parents to feed their kids, he admitted himself that he wishes the nutritional value of his products was better. He even stated himself that he won't feed his own children Lunchables, that they are a healthy family.
I hope nobody feeds their kids these Lunchable freaking garbage. Have you ever seen the ingredients label on one of these things? Look at that thing. Half the words you can't even pronounce in the damn thing. Soybean oils and all that garbage. This stuff is terrible for your kids. It's literally freaking poison. Stop feeding your kid that garbage. Feed them something decent. Feed them a protein, carb, and fat. You know, chicken thighs, carbs, use potatoes or rice, whatever. But don't feed them that garbage.
I've personally noticed that I can't buy cut fruits because they have a weird taste to them. Most people surprisingly don't mind it, but considering that I'm Haitian, so my parents garden a lot. I've tasted foods and fruits from my backyard, picking mangoes, starfish fruit, avocados, even beans. The difference in taste when it's organic versus from the grocery store is literally like night and day. It tastes like heaven, so it's made me more personally cautious because at this point in time, just because it's fruit doesn't make it good. So because it has so many additives and pesticides for color and taste, it just doesn't taste right to me. Are pesticides necessary? I'd say yes, because even my own parents had issues with bugs eating our crop, but America has allowed 10 times the amount of pesticides to be used for food than other countries, knowing that these pesticides cause health risks.
What's the difference between the UK and the US when it comes to pesticide standards?
So American fruit and veg in general is allowed to contain larger amounts of more toxic pesticides than their UK equivalents.
American farmers use almost 10 times more kilos of pesticides per hectare than we do, and many of those chemicals are banned here.
If we drill down into what's called highly hazardous pesticides, because they are particularly harmful to human health, the US authorises 50% more highly hazardous pesticides than the UK.
And which of these pesticides do you think we should be most worried about?
So permethrin, for example, is a known human carcinogen, so it has the capacity to cause cancer. And there's chlorpyrifos, which is a particularly nasty insecticide, which has very strong links to negatively affecting children's brain development.
There's also a big difference when it comes to the amount of pesticide residues allowed in food.
So, for example, there's an insecticide called malathion, which is a known human carcinogen. American apples are allowed to contain 400 times the amount of malathion than a UK apple. Similarly, American grapes are allowed to contain 1,000 times the amount of an insecticide called propagite than UK grapes. And propagite is a known human carcinogen and also a developmental or reproductive toxin.
Now, if you wash it well, doesn't that get rid of it?
I'm afraid not. Many of these pesticides are systemic, which it means they're taken into the body of the plant. So while washing an apple, for example, will remove some of the pesticides on the outside, so it's definitely good practice. It won't remove all of it.
Ultra-processed foods are inevitably killing our people. We've all been seeing how these companies are merging themselves together to make Cheeto macaroni or some other nasty shit. Like, sometimes people definitely need a level of discernment to not eat certain foods, but you know, I digress. Because there aren't a lot of healthy food options that isn't as expensive, a lot of people have relied on fast food because they're constantly on the go and don't have time to make a home-cooked meal. The only issue is that these fast food companies have 40 to 60 ingredients in their meals to make them highly addictive. They have sugar in virtually everything and high amounts of chemicals that make you crave the food.
So I went and looked up Popeye's chicken sandwich. Come to find out, they have 40 over 40 ingredients in the Popeyes chicken sandwich. 32 of them were man-made chemicals. And I said, well, let's see what Chick-fil-A has. Over 50 chemicals in the chicken sandwich. Over 40 of them were man-made chemicals. I said, so hell, this is a dope sandwich. So they really are flipping birds over there. I mean, because there's no way in the world to justify. So whenever I seen that, I said it in a message. And someone took the clip of it and then went on the website of Chick-fil-A, had it broke down where they were clicking on it, showing all of the ingredients and these chemicals that were in it. Do you know the next day Chick-fil-A took that down off their website? So now you can't find the ingredients to the Chick-fil-A sandwich or the Popeyes chicken sandwich because they don't want you to know that they're drugging you, they're doping you, that they have you wanting the food not for nutritional value, but because you become addicted by the MSG and the other chemicals that they've inserted in that also are immune system disruptors.
There are people that are literally addicted to fast food and unhealthy food diets to the point they have completely erased vegetables and fruits from their diets.
Kelly can't stand to smell or even touch most foods, especially vegetables.
Well, I want you to try this because it's a green vegetable. Every time I've tried to cook her a little something extra, she just refuses. Just try a little taste. I can't. Come here, baby. It's okay.
The FDA has been letting a lot of items pass through into our food industry, but then again, it's the Food and Drug Administration. These companies are so in cahoots with each other, we can't even trust 100% of the research-based information out there about diets and food benefits. They pay each other via sponsorships and give funding. These companies put together their own personalized research teams. So there is an automatic bias when it comes to the positive qualities of the food products that they promote to the public. It's gotten to the point where some of these companies can't label their foods as such. So if they're selling cheese and it's kind of not cheese but it's still cheese, they can't actually call it cheese. They do the same thing with ice cream that doesn't melt. They cannot call it ice cream.
While our food environment is saturated with the salty and sugary goodness of ultra-processed food, something else is happening. We are constantly bombarded with nutritional advice about how to stay healthy, what foods can ward off cancer or diabetes, and which ones are slowly killing us. And these two realities are actually deeply related. Let's go back to 2015, when Kraft successfully marketed their singles, which cannot legally be called cheese, as a health food.
Kraft American Singles have double the calcium of many other American slices, plus vitamin D to help grow strong bones.
In 2015, Kraft...
So we at Coke paid the NAACP, prominent civil rights groups, to say it was racist to take away food stamp funding from Coca-Cola. Today, the top item purchased on food stamps is sugary beverages.
So you're saying Coca-Cola went and paid the NAACP to call anybody racist that was resisting the sugar tax?
This was reported in the New York Times and throughout the media. The NAACP, after accepting millions of dollars from Coke when I was working for them in 2010, 2011, called anyone who questioned the idea of taking food stamp funding away from Coke racist, saying that lower income kids, really enjoyed their soda and it was a personal choice issue.
Yeah, because we were looking at these studies that you gave us.
Yes.
And there's a long list of people that fund and support those studies. General Mills, Kellogg, PepsiCo, Quaker Oats, International Sweeteners Association, Nestle, General Mills. They are funded, as you say, by the people that are selling you what they're testing.
The food industry, the drug industry, the pharmaceutical and medical industry, it's all connected. Modern medicine has improved so much, but the reality is that a lot of illnesses that Americans have is based off of what you eat. Your gut health ties into your overall well-being as a human.
Thing that comes from nature cannot be patented. They're not interested in that. So, we translate that into the real world of FDA approval. Surely these drug companies aren't going to spend $20 million or more testing any substance from nature because it can't be patented. That, and of course the FDA says it's illegal to use unless it's been tested for efficacy and safety. Now you see the catch-22 you're in there. Nothing from nature, regardless of how effective it might be, will ever be proven safe or effective according to the FDA. It'll never be. Because nobody's going to spend the money to go through the test. So therefore, everything from nature will always be condemned by the FDA as unproven.
This concludes today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinion about America's food industry, and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Toodles!